Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I have the pleasure to have next to me Nir Eyal, one of our great speakers who just came from the stage. How was the event so far?
Fantastic. Yeah, this is my first time in Romania. Very impressed with the tech scene here. It's fantastic to be involved with it. And yeah, great audience.
Great questions as well? Or?
Very good questions. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's always my favorite part of my presentation are the questions. So these were high quality questions.
Okay. For those who are now watching the video, who of course didn't manage to come to the event and see you on stage, can you please sum up the main ideas from your presentation?
Sure. So the main idea of the talk was really about how do we build the kind of products and services that people want to come back to? How do we use the same psychology that Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and Twitter and Slack, how do these products hook us? And what could we do? How could we benefit our users and help them do things that they want themselves to do by using these principles of consumer psychology for good? And so I outlined the hook model, this 4-step process that we can use to help keep people engaged with our product and form these healthy habits.
Can we just tell them a little bit about those 4 steps
Sure.
of how to hook your audience?
Yeah, so the 4 basic steps of the hook are a trigger, an action, a reward, and finally an investment. So there's of course a lot more to the model in the book,
Yes.
but just a very quick introduction. So the trigger, there are 2 types of triggers. There are external triggers and internal triggers. External triggers are something in our environment that tells us what to do. So it could be a click here button, it could be a call to action, an email, a notification, a ping, a ding, something that tells us what to do next. Then the next step of the hook is the action phase, and it's defined as the simplest behavior done in anticipation of a reward. So it's all about how easy you can make it to get to the reward. Then finally comes the reward phase, which is where the customer's itch is scratched, where they get what they came for. And typically what we see here is that it's a variable reward. It's some kind of uncertainty, some kind of mystery involved with using the product. And then finally there's the investment phase, which is where we put something into the product to make the product better and better with use. It's called stored value into the product. So the more we use it, it should get better. It should improve the more we use the product, so that through successive cycles through these hooks, we don't require an external trigger at all. We start using the second type of trigger, which is called an internal trigger. An internal trigger tends to be an emotional state that we seek relief from. So when we're feeling bored, we check YouTube. When we're feeling lonely, we check Facebook. Whatever it might be, it's all about attaching your product's use to that internal trigger so that the customer finds relief with using your product. And that could be in the consumer web space, enterprise, e-commerce, doesn't matter. It's really all about figuring out that internal trigger and then building those other steps of the hook around that need.
So this model applies the same in e-commerce or for e-commerce businesses as it applies for any other
Absolutely.
product.
So the line of demarcation is not consumer web or enterprise or e-commerce, or it's not the line of demarcation. Where this is useful is in any product whose business model necessitates a habit. Not every business needs to be habit forming. The kind that don't need to be habit forming are the ones that are used infrequently. Now, the problem, however, with a product that is not habit forming is that forever you will always compete on price and features and price and features and price and features. And if your competitor has a slightly better product or it's a little bit cheaper, people switch. So even
Which it happens quite often in
of course,
e-commerce.
all the time.
Yeah.
But if you can form a habit around your product, it may not be with the consumption of the product itself. The rule to remember is that monetization is a result of engagement. You know, in e-commerce, we are so focused on getting people to check out, and we spend not nearly enough time trying to figure out how to get them to check in. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get people the reason to form a habit around your product, not with buying, it's not just buying. It's a community, for example. It's content. It's something that people come to rely on your product or service out of habit, so that the result of all that engagement eventually is going to be monetization.
Do you have in mind any product that was launched recently which managed to build a new habit very quickly?
There's so many. You know, in the presentation I talk about Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp, and I mean a lot of consumer web products, because that's the kind of stuff that we all know and love. But I think if you look at a company in the e-commerce space, I have to say their name, even though I know many people don't want to hear it. You know, Amazon understands consumer psychology incredibly well. I mean, if you think about how Amazon is no longer in competition with other retailers, they're past that. You know who Amazon is in competition with? The shopping list. Amazon understands that if you write down what you need, there's a chance you might buy it elsewhere. So their entire strategy is focused around making it easier to order than to think. So they came out with the Amazon Alexa, right? So that you can just say what you need, or the Zapper that you can just zap a barcode, and the app functionality. And they're trying to make it ubiquitous so that anytime you need anything, you just say it into the air and it'll be delivered to you. I have a theory that in a few years, they're going to get so good at these hooks that they'll just start sending you products before you even order them. And in the rare chance that they're wrong, you'll send it back, because they are so focused on making it easy as possible to order from them.
What are the best tactics that work the best today in the product marketing area, in terms of converting, in terms of building new habits?
Yeah.
Which are the best at the moment?
You know, I think it's really about understanding your customer's itch. That if you want to build a product that is habit forming, whether you're building a habit around the product in the form of content or community, you have to understand what's that internal trigger. What's the psychological need, not just the functional need, not just, oh, I'm shopping for a pair of jeans. Where's the jeans? But what's the psychological need underlying that? If you're going to build a habit around it, and again, if you don't build that habit, you're just competing on features and price.
Nir, what's the difference between a marketing specialist and a product marketing specialist? Is there any difference, or is just
that might be a different question, a different expert. It's very nuanced. I'm not. I don't know if I'm current enough on the different terms. I'm guessing one is more about specifically. I mean, everybody in marketing. People think marketing is advertising. Mm-hmm. Advertising is just one part of a marketer's job. The real job of a marketer is to change the product to meet customer needs, and whether that's about changing the features, the specifications, the price, the positioning. There's lots of things that a marketer does. If it's specifically the product role underneath the marketing professional, where it's implemented into the product design.
I was interested, especially in your perspective over this new field of expertise as product marketers, especially as as the model that you talk a lot about in the book.
We definitely see that the old way of doing things is to change consumer preference through display advertising. That if we use brand advertising and very expensive messaging, we use the mere exposure effect. That the more times you see a logo, a television commercial, that's how brands used to do marketing. But if you think about it today, when you think about Slack and Instagram and Facebook and these products, they don't advertise. You don't see commercials for these products. So why is everybody using them? Well, it's the product itself, and that's what I think has changed when it comes to the product marketing role. It's the product itself that changes consumer preferences. That is different.
Or solves a specific need or problem in the market or whatsoever. Who should we follow on social media? Who are those marketing or product marketing specialists that we should follow to get bits and pieces of inspiration or know-how, except yourself, of course?
Oh, there's lots of great folks out there. There's all over the world. Actually, in my book, I have over a dozen pages of references. So if you look at the back of my book in the appendix, there's lots and lots of experts and books that I mentioned in the back.
Okay, then all those watching the video should, of course, buy your book.
Yes.
I have one.
Oh, great. And if you don't buy them, it's all right. You can pirate it somewhere. I don't really care. I want people to have the information and use it for good.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the event, and I think that we will see each other very, very soon.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.